Hello BookTube and welcome! Welcome to my video of the books that I have read this month. I've actually done a pretty good job. I'm really proud of the progress that I did, and part of that was due to the stay-at-home reading rush that I participated in. If you'd like to check out what I read for that, you can go ahead and I'll leave a link in the description below. But I just kind of want to talk about the books that I've read. I haven't really pushed myself this month. I've kind of been working on finding other projects because honestly, I have been going a little stir crazy. But I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to keep the books that I read interesting. And I'd like to share with you the books that I read. So for the month of April, I read 5 books. And so I'm going to go from what I thought was the least best to the book that I actually thought was the best. And the first book that I have that I honestly was my least best was Much Ado About Nothing by William Shakespeare. Sorry, Shakespeare. And it wasn't because I didn't enjoy the play. Honestly, I love Shakespeare. But I guess what really got me is that maybe it's just me. I'm just so used to his plays being either historical, comedy, or tragedy. I'm not really, and this was like a mixture of comedy and tragedy, and I wasn't too sure how to feel at times. I feel like if I watched this play done, I would love it. I would absolutely love it because I'd get it. But because I went into this not really knowing which way it was supposed to go, I felt that I didn't quite get the tone of the book, not even the book, it's a play. I didn't really quite get the tone of the play while they were talking, and so I gave this book a 2 out of 5. Again, if I saw the play, I'm sure it'd be a fantastic play. I'd probably be like, oh yeah, I get it. But reading it, it was very confusing to figure out what the tone was of Much Ado About Nothing. The second to last book, the next book, I'm going in order from, again, least best to best, was the Life and Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. This book, I'm sure you guys have heard of Swiss Family Robinson. Swiss Family Robinson was based off of The Life and Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. And it's about this guy who is shipwrecked on an island and figures out how to fend for himself. I listened to this book as an audiobook, and I ended up giving this book a 2 out of 5, according to my notes. I really liked what he did, but I also feel like there was a lot of challenges, but I feel like there was no, I don't know, there was no emotional growth, and that's something that I really appreciate in a book. There was no emotional growth. There was he was just constantly praising the fact that God saved him. And that's for some people, but that's not for me. And I understand that it was a book at the time, but I was listening to it even, and I felt bored. So I gave The Life and Adventures of Robinson Crusoe a 2. Yeah, and that's, yeah, and I'm just gonna leave it off at that. The third place book, so the one that's kind of in the middle of everything, I just finished yesterday I'm very happy. I'm very proud of myself. I'm tempted on making this higher than it actually is. I still haven't decided. But the third book that I read was Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is another book that it was just I guess it was another book that I went into reading this novel anticipating Jane Austen's satire. And this is actually one of her more serious novels. I didn't realize that until I started reading it, and I'm like, is this supposed to be funny, or is this supposed to be satirical? But basically this follows two sisters. There's usually two sisters. Eleanor's the oldest, and she's usually like more level-headed. And then Marianne is more feeling. She's more emotional, I guess you should say. And there's a lot of secrets. Marianne tries to, she gets engaged, or she is engaged to this guy. See, that's another thing. Like, I don't even remember the guy's name. Edward. Um, and and she's not allowed to marry. She's not allowed to marry him because if she did, he would lose all his money. And there's also a lot of politics and a lot of there's a lot of politics and a lot of drama. There's a lot of relationship drama. So it was good. It was good. It was a good book. It was a good classic. But also I was expecting it to be funny. So for this book, I gave it 3 out of 5. Just because it was a good solid book, and it had a house on the cover. I mean, that's the reason why I read this book, was because it had a house on the cover. That was the challenge. It just wasn't what I necessarily read Jane Austen for. And the fourth book on my list, which I gave it a 4 out of 5 rating, is J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World Movie Magic. I really love this book. It was so fun to read. It was really, really fun to read. And I actually learned things about the movie franchise that I didn't know before. It came with stickers. It came with little like informational things. And honestly, it was just a really, really fun read. There's this really cool clock in it. Like there's this part up to it. It's really fun. So it's just like a little fun pop-up books. Oh, here it is. Cool little clock. See? It's fun. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 because it was educational and honestly it was a lot of fun to read. But the last and final book, you guys might have already guessed if you have been reading or keeping updated on me, is... What's in this book? What's in this bookcase? Well, if you've been following me, you would know that it's The Green Mile by Stephen King. This has been my favorite book all year, and if you really want to know more of my opinions about it, I do have a video about this book. I'll leave that in the link below. But this book was absolutely amazing. It kept me reading it. And one of the reasons why, like, what I have determined makes a really good book is when I cannot put it down. And the way that this book was written is that it was originally a serialized novel. So it was written so that you want the next segment. So I could not put this book down. It was absolutely captivating. I cried. So I gave this book a 5 out of 5. Is absolutely, I would highly recommend this book to anyone who likes Stephen King, and who can handle grotesque, and violent imagery. I would highly, highly recommend this book. Anyways, so that is my wrap up. So my absolute favorite was Stephen King. And my least favorite, I'm trying to find it amidst my stacks. I have stacks over here of books. Was Much Ado About Nothing by William Shakespeare. Sorry, Shakespeare, I really love you, dude. But Stephen King took the cake this month. But next month, I'm going to just go through. I'm just going to go through really quick the books that I have for next month. So one book that I actually have as a PDF on my computer. It's for my Goodreads. It's for my Goodreads book club, and it's The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. So it's basically about a young man named Toru Okada who is searching for his wife's cat and his wife. So he's missing his wife and his wife's cat. And he's looking in the netherworld between the city's placid surface. So he's going on this adventure to find his wife and her missing cat. That's all I really know about it. I read the first couple pages today, and he's trying to make spaghetti at 10 o'clock in the morning. Relatable, especially for people during this time. So I'm reading that on the computer. The audiobook that I am going to be continuing to listen to is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This book is on my 100 essential books to read in your lifetime list. And so it's basically about this guy who was wrongly imprisoned because his basically through this huge plan against the king, and he his name is Edmond Dante, and his best friend betrays him to the king so that he can go ahead and take his wife, or can take Dante's wife. So Edmond Dante then goes to prison, and when he gets out of prison, he kind of becomes this new man. I won't spoil anything more for you, but it's pretty good so far. I'm listening to the audiobook, and the person who voices this audiobook is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it a lot. I've seen the movie, so I know how it turns out, but I think I might actually rewatch the movie after this, just to kind of have a little bit more of a visual. But it's the voice actors. I'm listening to it on LibriVox. It's a free resource. I am promoting it, but I'm not. They are not a sponsor of mine, unless they want to be. But I would highly, highly recommend that resource for anybody who, can't really be, who wants to be hands-free and still read. The next book that I am going to be reading is Tropic of Orange by Karen Te Yamashita. Yamashita. So basically, this book is magical realism. So it's magical realism / hip hop / Chicanismo. Karen Yashita presents an LA where the homeless, gangsters, infant organ entrepreneurs, and Hollywood collide on a stretch of highway struck by disaster. The harbor freeway crisis becomes the apex of events. cosplay in orange, which had been brought to LA from just north of Mazatlan, dragging with it the Tropic of Cancer. Interesting. So I think I read this part of this before for a class, but I don't think I ever really paid attention to it. So I want to read it again and kind of actually absorb it. And it's kind of summery. So right now we're going into summer, and this is about a sunny place. Maybe not sunny topics, but a sunny place. Someplace that I would definitely love to go. The next book is a book that I've borrowed. Hi, Beth. I still have your books. I'm taking good care of them. But this is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is about a young witch and a scholar named Dana Bishop. She unearths an enchanted alchemical manuscript, and she tries to get away, put it back on the shelf, and banish it to the stacks, but then a whole bunch of these monsters come up and are trying to come after her for this book, including a dashing vampire named Matthew. So this should be interesting. It says that it's supposed to be like part history, part magic, part romance and suspense. So that sounds good to me. I'm gonna definitely try it. For finishing books, I'm trying really hard to finish the books that I start. Right now, I'm currently reading Les Miserables. I started this back in February, but it is such a dense book that I've been having trouble actually finishing it. I do enjoy it. It's just also very, it's not something that you can speed read, and I was trying to speed read it. So I am currently not a quarter of the, I'm about a quarter of the way through this book. I want to see how much farther I can get, and we'll see. I'll keep you updated about how far I get. The other book that I'm reading is called Red Covered Wagon Women, Diaries and Letters from the Western Trails. This is a completely, I know I'm sure this is a random book. I borrowed this book from my dad, and this is a book that I'm actually reading for a reference for a story that I'm writing. I'm not going to tell you about it because I want to actually write it. I haven't gotten very far, but you know what? I'm hoping that this will help me with my writing. So I'm going to go ahead and read this as well. And I've got plenty of time to write my book now. And last but not least, the ever favorite Harry Potter et La Coupe de Fou. This book I have been reading for a very, very, very long time, and I'm just taking my time with it. I think I got maybe another chapter or half a chapter. Oh, no, I lied. I got 5 pages this month. I need to actually get back into this. Instead of doing my morning French app, maybe I should just read Harry Potter instead. But I'm getting there. I'll get there eventually, right? Eventually. Yeah. So that is my progress so far. What do you think? Anyway, yeah, that is my TBR. This is my wrap-up and my TBR for this month. I think I can do it. Honestly, I feel pretty optimistic. I don't really have much else going on aside from reading and other side projects. So anyway, let me know what you guys are doing, what you guys are reading during this quarantine. What fun side projects do you have? And most importantly, what books are you reading? What books do you plan on reading this month? Let me know. Anyways, I will see you next time. And as always, read on. Bye.